Hello, this is Malcolm welcoming you to the 2077th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline 8th of December 2016. The readers this week are Romany, Patricia and Katherin, with Jason on the controls. The editor was Katherin, and the production and distribution team is Peter, Sandra and Phillip. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Fernand Bouillon, Harry Breur, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perret, and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we'll be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, and are their copyright. The events information has been collated by us from other sources. The local news headlines this week include 6 stabbed in street brawl and cycle lanes accident waiting to happen, changes at the cemetery, and timetable protests gather momentum. But before the news, we've got a special news item and a notice. First, the sunrise and sunset times for Monday the 12th of December are sunrise at 07:57 and sunset at 15:51 hours. And now an announcement from Enfield Vision. There'll be no drop-in morning on Thursday the 15th of December. The next drop-in will be on Thursday, January the 19th, 2017. Also, there'll be no Enfield Vision Forum meeting on Monday the 2nd of January due to the bank holiday. The next meeting will be on Monday the 6th of February 2017. Do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We love to hear from you. And if you've got any special comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020-8805-6578. She's your listener's representative and she'll be pleased to help you. Now, Romany will read the first item of local news.
Cycle lanes accident waiting to happen. Elderly residents on a street where cycle lanes will be installed between a bus stop and pavement say it is an accident waiting to happen. People living in Westwood Court in Village Road, Enfield, will have to cross the cyclist path when they get off the bus. The plans are part of the Cycle Enfield scheme being introduced in the town centre and will see street parking on Village Road removed to make way for cyclists. Joan Thornton, 77, said, "I think it is an accident waiting to happen. I broke my hip last March and I am going to have a job getting on the bus where there is a cycle lane in front of the bus stop. I am appalled that the council have not taken us into consideration. They don't care about the needs of the elderly and the blind. I chose to live here because there is a bus stop outside and I can walk to the shops nearby. But if the parking goes, the shops won't do any business and they won't survive. We will be isolated here if our families cannot visit us because they cannot park." Campaigners argue that Village Road is too narrow to fit 2 cycle lanes and will mean emergency services will be unable to get through because traffic will have nowhere to pull in. Jeff Gladwin has joined campaign groups Save Our Green Lanes and Save Our Enfield, who are fighting the plans. The 83-year-old said, "It is going to be a disaster. The cyclists will have right of way, so if an old person forgets to look when they get off the bus, they will get knocked down." Ivy Callan said other residents wrote letters to the council and signed petitions but heard nothing back. The 91-year-old said, "I am very angry about the council doing this for a few bicycles. It is going to be absolutely chaotic." Manager of Westwood, Margaret Barker, said she felt sorry for the residents who range in age from 65 to 97. She said, "It is going to be a nightmare. I feel sorry for the elderly men and women here and it is very worrying." A spokesman for Enfield Council said, "We consulted extensively on the A105 Cycle Enfield scheme and made a number of changes to the scheme following feedback from businesses and residents living along the route. Safe crossing points will be created at bus stops along the route, and detailed surveys have identified sufficient parking capacity in the areas to compensate for the loss of space near Westwood Court, which also has its own dedicated car park. Cycle Enfield is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to transform Enfield.
Changes at cemetery. MP backs law to create new graves. Burial space is running out in parts of the UK, although it is not yet clear whether government intervention is needed, a Justice Minister has said. Conservative frontbencher Phillip said ministers are considering whether this position should continue, as he told MPs the pressure on space does not appear to be a national issue. He added very few public burial authorities in London have reused graves, despite being allowed to for almost 10 years. Mr. made the remarks as MPs gave an unopposed second reading to a private bill designed to allow the reuse of areas where burial has not taken place for at least 75 years at New Southgate Cemetery in North London. Speaking in general terms, Mr. said, "Burial space is running out in parts of our towns and cities and countryside, but in some areas this is not a concern. Even within Greater London, the picture is not consistent. A 2013 York University Cemetery Research Group audit indicated there is acute pressure on burial space in parts of London, but this isn't true across all of London. There's already private legislation which, for almost 10 years now, has enabled public burial authorities in London to reuse graves, yet very few have done so. It's not yet clear that pressure on burial space is a national issue requiring central government intervention. Successive administrations have kept the situation under review, and I and my ministerial colleagues are considering whether the position should continue. But where there is local pressure, it's right for local solutions to address it. This bill addresses the needs of New Southgate Cemetery, and the government does not wish to prevent the cemetery from remaining viable in continuing to serve its communities into the future. Supporting the New Southgate Cemetery Bill, Conservative MP David Burrows, Enfield Southgate, said, "There are roughly 44,000 grave spaces, and in all, 180,000 interments have been carried out in the 160 years the cemetery has been opened. There are now only 1,700 spaces available in the main part of the cemetery, and a maximum of 100 spaces left in the Baha'is section. However, there is demand for around 175 burials a year in the main part of the cemetery, and 10 per year in the Baha'is section. That means that space in the cemetery in both sections is likely to run out in 10 years' time, which poses a problem for the local community, and indeed the Baha'is and other groups that use the cemetery." He added, "This bill seeks to deal with the problem by allowing the reuse of areas of the cemetery where burial has not taken place for at least 75 years, enabling them to extinguish existing rights of burial and to reclaim graves that have not been used for 75 years. In addition, a method to create extra space known as lift and deepen, it's fairly graphic, but that's apparently the term that's used in the trade, would also be allowed, where graves are excavated to their deepest depth, with all the remains placed in a casket and reinterred at the bottom of the deeper grave. This creates additional space above the reinterred remains. The bill will undergo further scrutiny at a later date."
Huge numbers of commuters have signed a petition against timetable changes that would see their train service dramatically cut in peak times. More than 850 Grange Park residents, furious over Great Northern's proposals to slash the number of trains by a third during the morning rush hour, are calling for service operator Govia Thameslink Railway to rethink the proposed changes that would be implemented in 2018. Nicola Jefferson, who started the petition, said, "I work in Victoria and use that service every day, along with many others. A lot of commuters already have to go from Winchmore Hill because there are many more trains from there, but Grange Park is their preferred station. The Office of Rail and Road has given us information that shows from 2013 until 2015, which is their last recorded information, there has been an increase of 14% of people using Grange Park. That increase is the largest in the whole Enfield area. People here are livid that despite those figures, they are thinking of cutting our peak time trains. Rail chiefs met residents and Enfield Southgate MP David Burrows 2 weeks ago to discuss their concerns. Speaking at the meeting, Phil Hutchinson, head of strategic planning at GTR, promised that the company would listen to Enfield commuters and urged people to go online to submit their feedback. Grange Park is between Winchmore Hill and Enfield Chase stations on the Great Northern Line, and if the changes are approved, will have a reduced peak hour service from 2018. GTR is having a timetable shake-up to improve services between Moorgate and Gordon Hill on the Hertford North Loop. The company said that even though it was suggesting a morning peak hour reduction, there would be more trains to Grange Park throughout the day and more on Saturdays. Great Northern spokesman Roger Perkins said, "This proposal for the morning peak was based on our understanding of passenger demand and the need to spread train loadings out across services that have different station stopping patterns. However, the consultation is just that, a consultation, and we will be reviewing everything people are telling us." To sign the petition, visit www.change.org, and then there's a very long piece afterwards which will just confuse you. So if you go to change.org and search Go Via Thameslink, coupled together with Grange Park, I'm sure you'll find the petition there for you.
6 stabbed in street brawl. 6 men were stabbed during a mass brawl involving up to 30 people outside a busy Edmonton nightclub. Police say the violence broke out near the Box H9 club on the Hastings Wood trading estate in Harbert Road, when scores of people clashed in the early hours of Sunday morning. 6 men, aged in their late teens and early 20s, were knifed in the bus-stop at the junction of Rivermere Road and Harbert Road just after 4:30 a.m. According to police, between 15 and 30 people were involved in the brawl, and witnesses are being urged to come forward. Detective Inspector Chris Rickson from Enfield CID said this was a large-scale fight which would have been seen by people who were at the busy nightclub and in the area. Luckily, no one was critically injured. A House versus Old School Classics night called Juiced was going on at the nightclub from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m, but it's not known whether those involved had been at the 8-hour event. None of the men stabbed suffered serious injuries, say police. D.I. Rickson added, "At this early stage in the investigation, it's not known if those involved in the brawl had attended the music event." Box H9, formerly the Warehouse nightclub, holds a premises licence from Enfield Council. It applies for special licences to open late for one-off nights, such as the one on Saturday. Police confirmed yesterday, that's Tuesday, that no arrests had been made. Anyone with information can call Enfield CID on 020 8345 3315 or Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111.
This is an opinion from columnist Lou Stein of the Chicken Shed Theatre. The Tin Man is oiled and polished. The Woozy has the 3 hairs on his tail brushed and shampooed, and Dorothy has her ruby shoes on, ready to help Ojo the unlucky munchkin in his quest to save Unc Nunky from forever remaining a marble statue. If you wonder what on earth I am writing about, think no more. I am giving you the rough plot of our brand new festive show, Adventure to Oz, that opened last Thursday to rapturous family audiences. The magic of seeing the Chicken Shed Company working together and sharing their individuality and talents with one another and the audience is an event once experienced and never forgotten. It is truly breathtaking, and I hope you can find the time to come and experience the magic with us. This is my first time directing our magnificent performers, composed of 4 companies, each of 200 young people, and our professional inclusive staff. And it has given me such joy to see the audiences whooping and applauding the entertaining achievements of each performance so far. Chicken Shed shows, whether they are in our studio theatre or our larger space, the Rain Theatre, are increasingly becoming hot tickets as audience interest in our work continues to grow. Some Adventure to Oz dates are already sold out, so book soon to avoid disappointment. If you would like to book, contact the box office on 020 8292 9222 or email bookings@chickenshed.org.uk or visit our website at www.chickenshed.org.uk. I look forward to welcoming you to Chicken Shed during this festive season.
Stories of homelessness need to be heard. Homelessness is an ever-growing crisis in the UK, particularly during the bitterly cold nights in December, as people struggle to find a warm place to shelter. Melita Cameron Wood, an MA film student at University College London in King's Cross, is co-producing a docudrama called Sleeping Rough, which follows the lives of 3 individuals living on the streets. The 22-year-old, who lives in Camden and graduated with an undergraduate degree of French and German at the University of Oxford, aims to educate about the realities of rough sleeping, homelessness and poverty in England today, and hopes the project will continue after the film's release in July 2017. Melita has launched a Kickstarter campaign, which ends next Wednesday, in order to raise £5,000 to fund her film project. Here she explains the issue of homelessness is a topic that everyone can relate to. A docudrama is based on facts that we have been told, but some of the assertions have been reformulated slightly and put into scripted sections. The primary reason for this is that many of the individuals we spoke to didn't want to be seen on camera, as the information they were disclosing was acutely personal. So we fashioned stories that we had been told into their tales of these individuals and their journey into homelessness. In between this scripted section, we intersperse real voice recordings. In order to keep everything as authentic as possible, we will only be using actors who either are or previously were homeless. The Kickstarter campaign is due to end on December the 14th. We aim to raise £5,000 in that time. So far, people have pledged £3,715, but we'll only be able to access these funds if we make it above the £5,000 marker, so every donation is very important to us. I've never been homeless personally, but I've noticed a dramatic increase in homelessness in the UK in recent years and wanted to do something, however small, to help raise awareness. The concept of a home is something that is familiar to everyone, and I think it is relatable to everyone. I worked for 3 months in a theatre with refugees and prisoners in Germany in 2014 and spoke to many of these individuals about their stories of travel, being uprooted and without a home. Ever since that experience, I realised that I wanted to work with communities and talk to people about their stories and troubles and find a vector of communication for these stories. People bring us knowledge, and knowledge brings us change. We're releasing a song in conjunction with the film, which will be adapted from a poem that we received from Miguel Dean, who was homeless for 7 years. He is now an author of Stepping Stones in the Mist, Life Lessons for Overcoming Adversity, and tours schools and groups giving talks on youth empowerment and social change. The song will be sung by Paul John Bailey, a street musician from Bristol, and the music will be composed by Daniel Baboulin, a friend of mine from Oxford who studied music. I also recently organised a massage yoga event in aid of Sleeping Rough film and Crisis. The proceeds from the massages, which I provided, went to the Kickstarter campaign, and the proceeds from the yoga class run by Anna Tankle went to Crisis. After the campaign, we will move on to the auditioning phase. We're in conversation with Cardboard Citizens, the patron of which is Kate Winslet. Cardboard Citizens offers homeless people interested in acting the chance to take part in drama projects and provides homeless people with the chance to see and participate in theatre. We'll then begin filming from late January and into February. I'm also appealing to creative individuals to submit drawings, music, photos to us on the theme of homelessness, as we want to get people talking and thinking about homelessness in a more nuanced way, and we want to see people's responses to the topic. If I receive enough submissions, I intend to exhibit them and turn them into a journal format. We wish to continue campaigning and raising awareness of homelessness in the UK after the film's production. Fighting stereotypes and educating are two of our key goals.
Stench gets up everyone's nose. You might want to go and sit near something very fragrant before you listen to this next article. The mystery of a foul-smelling stink, which has had residents holding their noses for the past week, has been solved. The pungent pong led to hundreds of people complaining to Enfield Council or taking to social media to raise concerns about what it was and whether it was harmful. City Accountant Paul Taylor had just left Gordon Hill Railway Station in Enfield on his way home from work one night last week when he says he was hit by an overpowering stench. "I thought I'd got out at Beckton's sewage works by mistake," he said. "It smelled like a cross between manure and chemicals, and as I reached Lavender Hill, I was almost physically sick. I have 2 young children, and I didn't know whether what I was breathing was safe, so I posted something on a community blog, and it was inundated with others who had smelled it at different times across the borough. The smell, the advertiser can reveal, was caused by non-toxic vapours escaping from a renewable energy plant which recycles commercial food waste to generate electricity for the national grid. The facility is on the 2,000-acre Cattlegate farm in Cruise Hill, just over the borough's border in Hertfordshire. Conservative councillors Nick Dines and Peter Fallart, who represent Chase Ward, which neighbours the plant, this week wrote to the Environment Agency calling for an investigation and demanding reassurances about air quality and enforcement. "There is genuine concern about the air quality," said Mr Dines. "The Environment Agency needs to enforce and ensure the stench goes away. It also needs to be more proactive in informing residents about what is being processed and what the impact is on the quality of the air we breathe," he added. The company which runs the plant, Willen Biogas, processes food waste, which is broken down by microorganisms and turned into methane to power generators, in turn creating electricity. Partner Adrian Williams blamed the leakage on a faulty weld carried out by contractors on the digestate back end to the sealed vessels, where methane is harvested. He said that a temporary fix had been put in place with the installation of an odour suppression system and insisted the fault would be fully rectified within the next 10 days. "We have been working with the council and the Environment Agency to remedy the situation," he added. A spokesman for the Environment Agency said that it regulates both Cattlegate Farm compost site and its AD anaerobic digestion site. "We continue to regulate the site and enforce where appropriate," he said. "We regularly update people via email and offer this service to anyone who requests feedback. Any concerns about air quality and health implications should be directed to environmental health at the local council." Okay, you can all breathe in again now.
Son and best friend. A 16-year-old moped rider who died after a hit and run has been described as a gentle giant by his family. Alfie OKeefe Hedges of East Barnet died in hospital 9 days after he was left critically injured when he was knocked off his moped by a car in North Finchley. Police, paramedics and the air ambulance were called to reports of a car and a moped in collision at the junction of Buxted Road and Ashurst Road at about 5:50 p.m. on November the 17th. An inquest into Alfie's death is set to be opened at Barnet Coroner's Court. Detectives say the driver and occupants of the black Nissan Pixo abandoned the car in Buxted Road and ran off. Flowers and tributes left at the scene included a card from Alfie's father, Wayne Hedges, who wrote, "Rest in peace, my beautiful baby boy. I will never ever forget you. You are my son and my best friend, and I'm going to be so lost without you. Fly high with the angels, little man. I love you with all my heart and soul." His uncle, Stephen O'Keefe, wrote on Facebook, "Today we said goodbye to our gentle giant Alfie, taken from us in the blink of an eye and in the most cruel and unimaginable way. He had his whole life ahead of him and had only just begun his journey. How I wish you could have stayed longer." Arsenal fan Alfie left Friar Barnet School in July to study at Barnet and Southgate College. His former head teacher, Simon Horn, said, "He was a big guy, very quiet and kind, and a caring student. He was the sort of student you would always want around the school." There were also tributes to the teenager on social media. A crowdfunding page has been set up by relatives to raise £1,000 for the funeral. A 22-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of causing serious injury by dangerous driving, driving with no licence or insurance, and failing to stop after a collision.
Orchard will help to keep Britain's bees busy. Volunteers are hoping 40 Hall's new orchard will help boost Britain's dwindling bee population. It is part of the Bee Project, which is run in the gardens of 40 Hall Estate in Forty Hill, Enfield, by conservation volunteer groups Friends of 40 Hall Park. Bee boxes have already been placed outside in the walled garden, and the hope is that 13 newly planted apple and pear trees will increase numbers of buzzing visitors to the park. The group received a grant of £700 from the Tree Council charity to fund so-called step-over fruit trees, which are ideal for restricted space because they grow horizontally at such a low height that they can be stepped over, hence the name. Volunteers also used money raised from their summer event, Music on the Lawn, to buy metal frames to support the trees. They were joined last week by 3 Enfield primary schools, which helped lend a hand and plant them across 2 days. Pupils from Lavender School in Lavender Road visited on Friday, and Carterhatch School in Carterhatch Lane and Suffolk School in Brick Lane visited on Thursday. They also took part in a fruit tree biology and life cycle workshop. Mayor of Enfield, Bernadette Lepage, visited the orchard as the guest of honour. "Bees love apple and pear trees," said Joanne Brown, volunteer organiser at Friends of 40 Hall Park. "And we have made and fitted bee boxes along the wall in the walled garden. We hope we will have lots of happy bees buzzing around next spring, enjoying the step-over apple and pear trees. Visitors can also pick the apples straight from the trees to eat. The trees have been specially selected as they are native to the southeast of England, and many of them are now rare heritage varieties," explained Joanne. Planting these trees reflects the garden's historic use as a space for growing food.
In touch if you're worried about elder abuse. This is a piece of information really from Janet Morrison, who's the Chief Executive of Independent Age. And she writes, "New research from Independent Age, the older people's charity, has found that more than half of British adults, 52%, believe that abuse and neglect in care homes for the elderly is common. Of those, many say their opinion is based on personal experience, either knowing someone in a care home, 15%, working in a care home, 5%, or hearing personal experience from others, 25%. Our new report, Shining a Light on Care, Helping People Make Better Care Home Choices, calls for new measures to understand the scale of the problem. We want the government to take responsibility for collecting core information about care homes to give earlier warnings of a home providing poor care. We have 2 free advice guides available to download or to order, and they may help people affected by these issues. Anyone who needs more information about how to choose a care home for themselves or for an older relative or friend can order the guide for free by calling 0800 319 6789. Those who need more targeted guidance can call for the free independent age helpline again on 0800 319 6789 and arrange to speak to an expert advisor. And finally, if you're worried about yourself or a loved one, the leaflet can be ordered free. Again, the number to call is 0800 319 6789. The line can also offer advice to those who think they're being abused or may be at risk of abuse, so please do get in touch if you have any concerns.
Cycle Scheme Misguided, an opinion piece from Colin Rickard of Enfield. I objected to the cycle lane scheme on the basis that it would not work in the short term or long term and would be detrimental to shops and trade, buses and cyclists. And in any event, there are relatively few cyclists on the street at any one time. Furthermore, just because there is a cycle lane, it does not follow that more people would take to cycling. The propaganda around the Olympic bid was that young people would do more sport and exercise and obesity would be a thing of the past. In reality, fewer people have taken to sport and exercise since the Olympics. Just how was such a scheme passed when there was so much local opposition? It is said that cycling clubs and groups from all over were canvassed for their opinion, and needless to say, they were all for it. Clearly, there is something unconstitutional and indeed immoral as to how Enfield Council operates. Currently, there is congestion and chaos along vast stretches of the roads affected, where somebody thought it a good idea to dig up all the roads at the same time, instead of dealing with sections at a time. I do hope that come elections, people with common sense will be voted in.
OK, now we've got some sport, and Romany's got the first item.
Borough lose out in 7-goal thriller. Enfield Borough were knocked out of the South Midlands Football League Division 2 trophy after losing 4-3 to Aston Clinton on Saturday. Romany Critchlow Noble, Alfie Hatch and Jemiah Plenty Lawrence were on the score sheet for Enfield. Enfield are set to take on Unite MKFC in the League Challenge Trophy tonight.
Another quick-fire triumph for Papa. Nick Papa believes that he's ready to step up to the next level in his professional boxing career after enjoying another quick-fire victory in his latest fight on Saturday. The 25-year-old cruiserweight from Palmer's Green made a rapid return to the ring at Bethnal Green's York Hall just 3 weeks after enjoying a rapid victory against Mario Lakatos in what was his first fight in 19 months, following a long injury layoff. And Papa again completely outclassed his opponent in his latest outing as he secured a first-round stoppage against Geoffrey Cave to maintain his perfect record as a professional. Everything went according to plan, said Papa, who learned his trade at Edmonton Eagles Boxing Club. I was very pleased with my performance. It's tough to have 2 fights back-to-back like that. Although the first fight didn't last for very long, the nervous energy drains you, takes a lot out of you. I think it was harder to recover mentally than it was physically, but I coped with it well. My coach had told me to showcase my skills in the ring, and I hadn't planned on stopping him so soon. I'd like to start building up the rounds. I honestly believe I'm fit enough to do 8 rounds, and I really want to step it up. Papa added, my next fight will 100% be a 6-rounder, and I'm just looking to keep on building up my experience. I'll keep myself fighting fit over Christmas. and I'm expecting my next fight to probably be in February or March.
Cockfosters lifted by 5-star display. Cockfosters produced another hugely impressive display on Saturday to crush Leverstock Green 5-1 and strengthen their grip on third place in the Spartan Premier Division table. Leverstock came into the match on the back of a good run of form and were rewarded for a fast start by grabbing the opening goal, but Cockfosters soon took control and raced into a 3-1 lead before they had Cameron Ferguson sent off late in the first half. However, the second period saw the 10 men continue to hold the upper hand, and 2 more goals ensured that they enjoyed a resounding triumph. Yanis Varouxakis and Bobby Sears both scored twice for Cockfosters, with Jason Beck grabbing their other goal. Manager Dean Barker said, "That is 2 weeks running where we've won despite playing with 10 men for long spells, and the lads are doing superbly at the moment." Cockfosters face a stiff test on Saturday when they visit second-placed Hertford Town at 3 p.m, who were the pre-season favourites for the title. "We'll go there with nothing to lose," Barker added. "We're punching well above our weight, while they are expected to win the league, so all the pressure will be on them." Cockfosters follow Saturday's match by visiting Wingate and Finchley in the London Senior Cup on Tuesday at 7:45 p.m.
Enfield overcome Ilford FC. Enfield 1893 emerged 3-1 victors over Ilford FC in the Essex Senior League on Saturday. Andrew Tirevanu opened the scoring after 15 minutes when he fired the ball into the roof of the net after the keeper parried his first shot away. Ilford should have equalised 10 minutes later, but their striker could not reach the ball to apply the finishing touch. Enfield had to rally together, and they did so, denying 3 chances in quick succession, with the last being headed off the line. The home side went into the break 1-0 up, but their lead was short-lived as Ilford scored from the penalty spot 2 minutes into the second half. Daryl Cooper regained the lead for the hosts when he slotted the ball past the goalkeeper into the back of the net. And it was not long before they doubled their advantage, with Joe Flowers, who was unmarked in the penalty area, heading the ball home. It was not all good news for the home side after they were reduced to 10 men when Troy Ricketts received a second yellow.
Making a point. Enfield Town were forced to again come from behind to ensure that they avoided defeat as they claimed a 1-1 draw at Hendon in the Ryman Premier Division on Saturday. Following a scoreless first half, Town fell behind for the 3rd successive match when Sam Murphy was on target from the spot for the hosts on 54 minutes. But the visitors again came on strongly in the closing stages and secured the point that they deserved courtesy of Billy Crook's penalty with 15 minutes remaining. "It was one of those frustrating afternoons when things didn't quite go for us," said manager Bradley Quinton. "We gave the ball away at times when we didn't need to, and I didn't think that the penalty against us was a foul. The guy just ran into Mark Kirby. We finished unbelievably strongly again and could have got the wind in the end. We're well placed in the table at the moment and have got more points than we had at this time last year. It's important that we take things one game at a time, but as long as we can keep our players fit, then we should have a good season." After making a slow start to the match, Town gradually began to get the upper hand, and Dernal Winter had a shot well held by home keeper Darren Beckett before Crook had a goal ruled out for offside on 31 minutes. However, the visitors had Nathan MacDonald to thank for ensuring that they remained on level terms at the interval, as the keeper made a stunning treble save on 42 minutes to thwart Kezia Ibe, Carl Oliide and Jerome Federico. Was finally broken. The deadlock was finally broken 9 minutes into the second half. When a surging run by Federico ended with him going down in the box after colliding with Kirby. The referee had no hesitation in pointing to the spot, and Murphy confidently dispatched the resulting penalty as he sent MacDonald the wrong way. Town reacted well to falling behind, with Harry Ottaway having a shot blocked and Keir Dixon and Tyler Campbell both being thwarted by Beckett. Their pressure eventually told as they were awarded a penalty of their own for Luke Tingey's challenge on Mickey Parcel, and Crook drilled the spot kick into the net. The visitors looked by far the more likely winners after this, as they forced Hendon on the defensive in the closing stages. But they were unable to beat Beckett again, as the keeper did well to turn away. Crook's low shot from the edge of the box before coming to Hendon's rescue again in stoppage time, when he saved Kirby's header as the match ended all square. Enfield Town face home matches against Needham Market on Saturday, 3 p.m, and Lowestoft Town on Tuesday, 7:45 p.m.
A boost for Sarries as Skelton arrives. Saracens have bolstered their options in the second row by bringing in Australian international Will Skelton on a short-term deal. Sarries had been short of cover in the position since the retirement of former skipper Alastair Hargreaves earlier this season, a situation not helped by injuries to England international duo George Cruis and Maro Itoje, although both have now regained fitness. Skelton, 24, has won 18 caps with Australia and joins the reigning English and European champions with immediate effect after Sarries reached an agreement with the Australian Rugby Union and his club side, the Waratahs, with regards to his availability. The lock will be eligible to play in Sarries' Aviva Premiership, European Champions Cup and Anglo-Welsh Cup matches during his time at Allianz Park. "We're delighted to be able to bring a player of Will's calibre to the group," said Director of Rugby Mark McCall. "He's an immensely talented rugby player with vast experience for a 24-year-old tight 5 forward. In Will, we have a player who will certainly have an important role to play in our group over the next few months." Meanwhile, Sarries suffered a rare defeat on Saturday as they were beaten 14-11 at Bath in the Premiership.
And now our last sports item's got a slightly different angle. Football champs pipped to the post. Teenagers with special needs nearly won a London-wide football tournament for the third year in a row. Students from Riverside School in Wood Green had battled through regional qualifiers to represent their area in the Penathlon London football finals at Wembley Goal Centre last Tuesday. The school had won the competition for the past 2 years, but lost out to a group of youngsters from Hackney in the round-robin event by a single goal. Students from Wesley School in Enfield also took part in the grand final, finishing a respectable 4th in the table out of 8 teams. Robert Zawasilek, head of PE, said, "It's a brilliant day for our students. Last year we came 2nd, but 4th this year is still a good achievement. They love the social aspect of pentathlon events. They develop their communication skills, and it really boosts their confidence. The level of competition is perfect for our school. It's competitive enough that everyone can try it out, but at the same time doesn't exclude anybody. Pentathlon is a charity which offers competitive sport opportunities to more than 10,000 young disabled people every year. Some 140 children took part in this year's final of the competition with 125 goals in 48 matches. And that's the end of the sport, and now we've got some community announcements, and we're going to start off with Romany.
Tate Britain for a Christmas feast on Monday 19th December from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Meet in the Manton studio from 10:30 a.m. for mince pies. Uncover and enjoy the feasts, banquets and celebrations hidden throughout the galleries and the collections of Tate Britain. This free festive audio-described tour of the BP Walk Through British Art display will be led by Louisa Aliette and Anna Murray and takes place in the seated gallery. Sighted companions and guide dogs are welcome. If you have any other access needs that you would like to let us know about, please contact Anna Murray, Assistant Curator, on anna.murray@tate.org.uk or call 020 787 8888.
Enfield Choral Society present an evening of Christmas carols, songs and readings on Saturday the 17th of December at 7:30 in the evening at St Stephen's Church, Bush Hill Park. That's Enfield EN1 2ET. If you're looking to capture the festive spirit this Christmas, come to St Stephen's, one of Enfield's most atmospheric churches, for a magical night of music and good cheer. Sing along with your favourite traditional carols, share a glass of mulled wine, and discover some more unusual Christmas songs from across Europe. Councillor Bernadette Lepage, the Mayor of Enfield, will be there talking about her music charity, Enfield Sounds Great. The concert's suitable for all ages, so you can bring along the family and join in our Christmas celebrations. Tickets, which cost £10 for adults and £5 for the under-18s, are available from any choir member or by calling the hotline. The hotline number is 07856 793 434. That's 07856 793 494.
The Rowan Tree Choir invite you to Mr Fezziwig's Christmas party and traditional Christmas music and carols on Tuesday the 13th of December at 7:30 p.m. at the United Reformed Church in Fox Lane in Palmer's Green. Tickets are £14 for adults and £7 for children. They're available from box office at rowantreechoir.org.uk, or you can call 020 8360 7602. That's 020 8360 7602.
The Whitechapel Gallery in East London have confirmed the next date for their next audio description tour, which will focus on a new major exhibition by artist William Kentridge. The tours are free, as is entrance to the gallery. The tour will take place on Wednesday the 21st of December at 11:30 a.m. To book a place, call Taylor Learmouth on 020 7522 7888. That's 020 7522 7888. And now it's back to the news with Romany again.
And this is a letter from Shirley Rose and Denise Donahue of Hazelwood Lane, Palmer's Green. What made it unworkable? We recognise and commend David Burrow's personal efforts to lobby the government to alleviate the suffering of refugee children who have reached Europe. We also welcome his commitment to continue to campaign on their behalf. He has, however, in his reply, failed to address the vital question we highlighted: the way he voted and why, in his opinion, the original Dubs amendment was unworkable, the consequences of which have been appalling. A large number of Labour MPs and some Conservatives felt it was morally justified and workable, and that the cost implications did not constitute a reason to reject it. It was felt an absurdity that local authorities in the country, with the fifth largest economy in the world, can't cope with looking after fewer than 5 children in each constituency in the country. We would be interested to hear exactly what his reason for voting against the amendment was and why it was deemed unworkable. We also hope he will redouble his efforts to work with Enfield Council to accommodate more of the children who have been accepted by the UK. We would like to know what his action plan is for moving forward to keep the issue at the top of the agenda.
Fire crews rescue pair from flat blaze. Firefighters rescued 2 people from a blaze on the first floor of a block of flats in Norton Close, Enfield, on Monday evening. The fire crews used a ladder to bring a woman to safety, and a man was led to safety down a smoke-filled staircase by firefighters wearing breathing gear. Both were treated by ambulance crews at the scene. 2 fire engines from Enfield Fire Station attended. The alarm was raised at 6:42 p.m, and the fire was under control by 7:14 p.m. The cause is being investigated.
Here's an opinion piece by Tony Roper. Are meters for our benefit or theirs? Glad to read the article about smart meters in Not So Smart in the Advertiser, November the 23rd. They are really being pushed on us. I wrote several times to Thames Water, and in the end they said they had answered my questions, which they hadn't, and that they would write no more. All the glowing words in their literature about wanting to understand their customers are just that, words. They want us to go away and not bother them, really. The dangers of smart meters are well set out on the internet by Dr. Andrew Goldsworthy and others, but Thames Water hold on to their own report, I guess funded by them, and will not listen to any other arguments. We need to pay for our water, and Section 162 of the Water Industry Act from 1991 is right, that we need to meter our supplies. But I don't need a smart meter to tell me that running the tap while cleaning my teeth or having a shave wastes water. When I shower, do I take 5 minutes or 20, which uses the most water? The answer is easy. I believe the water companies particularly don't want to employ people to read the meters, so have dressed this up to look as if it's for our benefit, when really it's for theirs.
Police strive to reduce burglaries in London. Small actions can make a difference. A police campaign to motivate people into helping prevent burglaries by taking small actions is being trialled by police. The #BeSafe campaign aims to mobilise Londoners to take small crime prevention steps to protect themselves and their property, while officers continue to work to disrupt and arrest the criminals. It will see the Metropolitan Police working closely with partners to amplify the campaign and develop packs containing burglary prevention advice to support vulnerable residents in the pilot boroughs of Enfield, Barnet and Lambeth. Barnet Borough Commander Simon Rose said, "Burglary can have a devastating effect on people. At this time of year we step up our anti-burglary operations to disrupt and arrest burglars. You can help us keep it down by carrying out small measures like double locking your door every time you go out and shutting and locking your windows. It sounds simple, but it really does make a difference. We know across London 1 in 5 burgled homes was left unsecure. According to police statistics, the average value of items stolen per burglary in Barnet is £1,718. Most burglaries take place between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. during the working day. A #BeAHero video posted on YouTube as part of the campaign shows a local resident being celebrated as a crime-fighting hero by police, the media and her neighbours for double locking her front door. The #BeSafe campaign will see a range of media, including digital advertising, radio and PR, targeted at residents. Research from the Met has shown most people know the simple ways to prevent crime, but believe police have expert prevention knowledge which would be more effective. The campaign aims to show residents how effective simple measures really are. Its next phase will see police advising people on how to keep their mobile phones safe.
Areas amongst the worst for homelessness. Enfield, Haringey and Waltham Forest are amongst the worst homeless hotspots in England. The figures have been released by charity Shelter to mark its 50th anniversary. Shelter's homelessness figures include people living in hostels and other types of temporary accommodation, as well as those sleeping rough on the streets. The findings do not include hidden homelessness, such as people staying with friends. Haringey is ranked the 3rd worst hotspot across England, with Enfield the 7th and Waltham Forest the 9th. Haringey has 9,447 people living in temporary accommodation and 22 sleeping rough, meaning 1 in 28 people in the borough. Meanwhile, Enfield has 9,278 people in temporary accommodation, with 7 people sleeping rough, equivalent to 1 person in 35 who is homeless. Waltham Forest has 7,239 people living in temporary accommodation and 33 sleep in rough. That is 1 in 38. In neighbouring Barking and Dagenham, the 10th worst area, there are 4,167 living in temporary accommodation and 1 in every 40 people is homeless. Barnet is ranked 11th with 7,719 in temporary accommodation, 1 in every 48. Shelter's co-founder, Des Wilson, said, "It would be pleasing if Shelter were able to take time to celebrate its 50th year, but as this report shows, it is too aware of what still has to be done. I hope the country will respond to its urgent rallying call with the same combination of anger and compassion with which it supported our work all those years ago." The findings were calculated by Shelter after looking at figures from sources including government data and information from social services obtained following a Freedom of Information request. A Department for Communities and Local Government, that's the DCLG, spokesman said of Shelter's findings, "We do not recognise these figures."
And now a letter from G.A. Musey of Mitchell Road, Palmer's Green, stating bicycles are redundant. When Enfield Council accepted the cycle lane money from the Mayor of London, it undertook to satisfy Transport for London strict objectives, namely to improve public health, reduce traffic congestion and reduce the number of journeys by car. When they produced the final plan for the A105 scheme, they said it was the best for the people of Enfield, young and old, business and families, the disabled and vulnerable, and it would attract more visitors to a revitalised town centre. It's obvious to most people who have studied the plan that it does none of these things. The young and old, disabled and vulnerable will be at great risk of injury by cyclists when they step off a bus onto a cycle lane. Buses stopping at bus stops will hold up traffic, causing congestion, and businesses will lose custom from reduced parking. Residents will lose favoured parking spaces. For Cycle Enfield to be a success, thousands of car journeys will have to be made by other means, preferably by bicycle or walking. How likely is this? In the recent autumn statement, the government is to spend £1.1 billion on local road improvements and elimination of so-called pinch points on major roads to get traffic moving. It has also earmarked £390 million of funding for electric vehicles, and Jaguar Land Rover plan to double production of their electric car. In the light of the above, why is the council wasting £41 million on a redundant pedal bike that is already being replaced by a powered machine, reducing its exercise benefit?
Teenager praised for taking selfless care of her mum. Young carer Chandrika Gopalakrishnan has had to grow up fast. She learned sign language early in life, and by the age of 12, she was sole carer for her mum Raji at their home in Ashgrove in Palmer's Green. Raji, 51, has Usher syndrome, a condition that rendered her deaf and with progressive blindness. She has always relied on Chandrika, now 19, to help her navigate her daily appointments and routines. Chandrika said, "Mum has been deaf since before I was born. I learnt sign language so that I could act as a bridge between my mum and the wider world. But over the past 4 years, her eyesight has got much worse, and she is now registered blind. For her to see me sign, she has to hold my hands and feel what my fingers are doing. It's been hard. I had a really low time when I was doing my A-levels. I had all this pressure on me that I heaped on myself to get really good grades and go on and do medicine. But it all got too much with the work and Mum." Chandrika volunteers for national charity Sense, which organises week-long summer holidays for more than 100 deaf-blind children and adults each year. At 17, she was its youngest volunteer. It was through this, and by campaigning relentlessly for the Deaf Project, a charity for deaf people in Edmonton that had its funding slashed by Enfield Council in March, that she met MP for Enfield Southgate David Burrows. She said, "Mr. Burrows nominated me for the Kids Count Inspiration Awards. So 2 weeks ago, my family and I all went to the House of Commons. It was a really special day. Chandrika was highly commended for her courage and selflessness. She's taking a year out from study and, thanks to her signing skills, has just got a job with the Empowering Deaf Society charity organising events. She said, "I will keep fighting to get more funding for the Deaf Project in Edmonton. It was such a lifeline for me as a child. I hate the thought that other young carers in Edmonton don't have the help that I had." A spokesman for the council said, "In common with many other local authorities, Enfield Council has seen its budget significantly reduced by the government in recent years, forcing us to reduce expenditure across the board. Despite these budget pressures, we were able to continue to fund the Deaf Project, although the amount of funding we provided was reduced."
Patricia, we had a letter earlier from Janet Morrison, Chief Executive, Independent Age, about old people's homes, didn't we?
With the helpline that you can contact.
Okay, and now she's written another letter here, which is about a new survey by Independent Age. And she says, the older people's charity, Independent Age, found that more than 1 in 3 of those aged 75 and over in Great Britain say that feelings of loneliness are out of their control, equivalent to more than 1.8 million people. And almost 1 in 4 worry about how often they feel lonely, an estimated 1.2 million people. To help older people in London recognise why they might feel lonely and to offer a few tips for simple steps they can take to reduce loneliness, Independent Age have launched a new free advice guide called "If You're Feeling Lonely, How to Stay Connected in Older Age." And for those who'd like some help in other ways, Independent Age has also just launched its Christmas appeal to raise funds to help combat loneliness. To donate to the Christmas appeal, you can call 020 7605 4485. That's 020 7605 4485.
And now we have an article, "When Gifts Go Wrong, your guide to getting a refund, repair or replacement for faulty Christmas presents." You may be keen to put the memories of Christmas shopping behind you, but this won't be possible if the gifts you bought turn out to be faulty. Whether it's a broken toy, malfunctioning household appliance, or a fake designer handbag, faulty presents cause huge disappointment and frustration. But don't despair, because as a consumer, you have legal rights to ask for a refund, repair or replacement, regardless of whether you bought the item new or second-hand. Your rights are protected for up to 6 years if the item you bought is broken or damaged, does not match what was advertised, or is unusable. You do not, however, have legal rights to a refund, repair or replacement if the item is damaged by wear and tear, an accident or misuse. You were aware of the fault when you bought it. You've simply changed your mind. You will have legal rights to a return, repair or replacement if the item you bought is covered by a warranty or guarantee. You may choose to use a warranty or guarantee if the item becomes faulty 6 months after you buy it, or if you bought an item abroad but the manufacturer is based in the UK. If you do choose to claim based on your warranty or guarantee, check the paperwork to find how long it lasts and what you are entitled to and how to make a claim. To make a claim, you must have proof of purchase and a copy of the warranty or guarantee, and you should have filled in a registration card and sent it back to the manufacturer when you bought the item. If you did not fill in a registration card, your claim may be invalid. If you're unfortunate enough to have bought an item that you later discover is fake or counterfeit, you are entitled to a refund and can also report the seller to trading standards. You're legally entitled to a full refund on fake goods within 30 days of buying them. If it's over 30 days but less than 6 months after your purchase, the seller should give you a genuine version of the item to replace the fake one. And if they can't find one, they should refund you. For items bought more than 6 months ago, you are entitled to a part refund depending on how long depending on how much you've used the item and for how long. You can also get a refund if you paid for the item using a debit card using the bank's chargeback scheme. The same applies to items paid for using credit cards, though only if they cost less than £100. If you use PayPal, contact its online resolution centre within 180 days of paying for the item. If you discover that an item you bought was stolen, take it to the police and ask them to return it to its original owner. Don't do that yourself, or it could be regarded as handling stolen goods. Take along the crime reference number and property log number that the police give you when asking the seller for a refund. If you bought the item before October 2015, you can ask for a full refund. However, they are entitled to reduce the refund depending on how much you used it. If you bought the item after this date, you're entitled to a full refund regardless of how long ago you bought it and how much you've used it. If you do not succeed in getting a refund via these routes, you could try an alternative dispute resolution, asking an independent person to look at your claim and find a solution. If this does not work, then your last resort is to make a court claim. For more information on your rights as a consumer, contact the Citizens Advice Consumer Helpline on 03454 040 506.
And now a piece about what's been going on up at Forty Hall and getting into the Christmas spirit. 'Tis the season to be jolly, in case you hadn't noticed. A magical children's Christmas event had youngsters full of festive cheer at Forty Hall on Saturday. It was set in the grounds and inside the Jacobean mansion at Forty Hill, Enfield, and visitors enjoyed activities including a ride in a horse-drawn carriage around the lake. Santa and Mrs. Claus, joined by the head elf, greeted children as they visited the grotto in the stone cottage. The grotto was so magical, said Hattis Abdullah, manager at Forty Hall. The children were so excited to meet them. Up to 6 youngsters could stand inside an inflatable plastic globe and enjoy their own winter wonderland in pretend snow. Christmas tales were read out, and there was also wreath making, festive lanterns, and biscuits to decorate. It was one of the best events we've held this year, and we had good weather for it, added Hatties. That's why they had to have the pretend snow, presumably.
A man hospitalised following accident. A serious road accident involving a car and a 31-year-old pedestrian caused rush hour chaos in Palmer's Green on Monday evening. Part of Green Lanes at the junction with Hedge Lane was closed, and traffic diversions came into operation after the car was in collision with the pedestrian. The man was taken to hospital. He is said to have non-life-threatening injuries. Buses had to be diverted. The Met Police's Serious Collision Investigation Unit at Chadwell Heath is investigating. Anyone with information is asked to call the police non-emergency line on 101.
Food Bank helps families in need. Families in desperate need of emergency food supplies over the festive season were given a helping hand with non-perishable items donated in the run-up to the Jewish festival Mitzvah Day. A collection point for food donations was set up at Enfield Civic Centre in Silver Street in support of the annual festival, which was celebrated on Sunday, November the 27th, and is committed to helping members of the community in need. Yasmin Brett, Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Community Arts and Culture, joined members from North Enfield Food Bank in Lumina Way to distribute boxes of staple supplies to Enfield families on Tuesday last week. This is a wonderful interfaith project for the council, said Ms. Brett. And it's exciting to know that especially at this time of year, we can all do something to ensure that families and people living on low incomes, lone pensioners and young people do not go without food. To donate food supplies or volunteer at North Enfield Food Bank, call manager Kerry Coe on 078 I'll read that again. On 07826 542 119. That's 07826 542 119.
Scientist supports children's charity. A British space scientist who had an asteroid named after her was the guest speaker at a lunch, which raised more than £4,000 for a children's charity. Professor Monica Grady attended the event organised by the NSPCC's Finchley, Friern Barnet and Whetstone District Committee at South Herts Golf Club in Totteridge on Sunday, November the 20th. During her visit, Professor Grady highlighted the need for children and young people to study science, maths, technology and engineering to help change the world. Currently Professor of Planetary and Space Science at the Open University, Professor Grady has also worked at the University of Cambridge and the Natural History Museum. Asteroid 4731 was also named after her following its discovery in March 1981. Now in its 12th year, past guest speakers at the fundraiser include the Queen Mother's official biographer William Shawcross, Childline founder Dame Esther Ranson and crime author Hilary Bonner. More than 100 people attended this year's event, which included a 3-course meal and a raffle. Barnet Branch Chair Joy Mather spoke about the 4 million children the NSPCC's Childline service has helped since it was launched 30 years ago and emphasised the importance of it for every child in the future. Joint Chairman of the NSPCC's Finchley, Friern Barnet and Whetstone District Committee, Derek and Tessa Phillip, said, Professor Grady was very entertaining while giving a great deal of information and stressing the importance of children as our future.
Well, we've reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Romany, Patricia, Katherin, with Jason on the controls, it's goodbye. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the memory stick into the packet, and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. And don't forget, you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspaper on 020 8805 6578. That's 020 8805 6578. Coming up next, the latest news and information for the Greater London area from Infrasound. The Enfield Talking Newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.